are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. Excellent company this afternoon. First off, with Ms. Miles Ruby over the Family Resource Center. Welcome. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back. I haven't been back since the lockdown, I don't think.
Yeah, last year was a long century.
It was a long year.
Was it a year? Just a year?
It felt longer.
No, I try to cope with things by deflecting through a bit of humor at times, but it was challenging. It is still challenging. I think maybe more than ever, I think the resources and the resource that is the Family Resource Center would be something beneficial to us to appreciate that whatever we're feeling as parents, maybe our children are feeling it, maybe we're projecting, maybe they're internalizing. There's all the things that are happening.
Oh,
what are we doing? You know?
I mean, our children feed off our energy, and so that's why self-care is so important. And, you know, we take care of ourselves, our children see that, and they learn to take care of themselves as well. So as parents, we're their first teachers. You know, we model, you know, behavior and how we solve problems and our values and morals. And especially for us as parents, we're with them throughout their whole life. You know, they have lots of different teachers through school, but throughout their developmental years, they are learning from us every day, day in and day out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say actions speak louder than words, and we don't realize sometimes that through actions, what we're conveying and communicating, and even though there's a smile, even though you tell the child, for instance, something, they see most likely the honest truth.
I always say children see, children do. You know, there's an old saying, you know, do as I say, not as I do. And children, you know, they see the contradiction in that, and it's very frustrating for them. And then they lose a little bit of respect for us when we say that, because, again, we need to model the kind of people we want them to grow up to be. You know, are we the adult that we want our child to be when they're our age? And
that's the thing. I think we don't appreciate sometimes that even to the child, but specifically to the child, because that child then becomes not just tomorrow, but that child is today. And those actions of that child, when sort of compounded with every other child, becomes the collective norm. And if they see that people can act with impunity, for instance, get away, if they see that you scout, you know, the legality still within the law, but it's maybe not ethical or moral. That's where we get a hit. Little things, do as I say, not as I do, doesn't work. And if you're in a position of authority, well, many times that's what we do. You know, we carry the stick, the big stick, and I'm not hesitating to use it.
Well, children are always looking up to us too,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as they learn and develop and explore the world and try on different things, you know, like dress up, you know, they'll try on this behavior and they'll try on that behavior. And that's one way they learn. And they're also looking for our response and our reaction. And as I always tell my parents in parent coaching is that we can't control another person, even our children. They're their own little person. But we can control our response and our reaction. And that's going to not guarantee an outcome, but it will influence the outcome. So if we have a more positive response to our children, regardless of their behavior or their choices, then regardless of the outcome, even if it's not what we want, we can at least as parents feel confident that, hey, I parented from a place of control. I feel good about how I reacted or responded. And so, you know, I might not have gotten it right, but, you know, you can always repair. And, you know, as parents, it's so important that we do that as well.
You know, I say the ABCs, you know, adversity builds character. And I think...
Don't we know that now?
And I think sometimes we don't appreciate, you know, what we're enduring at the time. We may not be able to embrace it, but we need to know that we have the strength of character to endure it. And when you look at our children and their responses, sometimes we fail to appreciate that it isn't so much what is happening, as you just shared, it's how we choose to respond to that thing in that time. And it's not always easy because there could be an emotional outburst. It could be a physical response. It may be justified. You know, I've had enough of you and I'm cutting you off or whatever it is that we do. But in the long term, is it the best thing to have done?
Well, we always say, you know, behavior is communication. And if you think of a child's behavior as a symptom, we always use the analogy, children's behavior is like an iceberg. And above the surface is the behavior that you see. That's the symptom, you know, the tantrums, the fighting, the yelling, the whining, the eye rolling, the sibling rivalry, all those things. And so if as parents, if we get more curious and think what's underneath the water, because when you think about an iceberg, the biggest portion is under the water, and that's what's driving the behavior. You know, what are the thoughts, beliefs, feelings? You know, are they feeling, you know, hungry? Or they, you know, we think of HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Are they? Do they feel like they matter? Do they feel like they've been heard? Do they feel, you know, scared? So often, what we're seeing is just a symptom of something bigger. And if we can go further upstream and find out what's causing that behavior, then we tend to have behavior less. And as parents, it's not fun being the enforcer. And we can't de-escalate a child if we're escalated. You know, we have to always parent from a place of calm and control. And so that's where self-care is important, and taking time to make sure that you take some deep breaths, that you take your own time out, that if you have a partner, to ask for support if you're not in a good place. But you can, you know, that's where the Family Resource Center comes in, and we can give you some tools that maybe you don't have. Because so often if we weren't raised that way, we don't know what else to do. And at FRC, we want to give you as many parenting tools for your parenting tool belt as possible. And that's strategies, it's information. There's just, you know, it's a different culture. The way that we were raised is very different than what we're seeing today. And there's new laws and new expectations. And so it's important that we evolve with the times.
Right.
You know?
And as I listen to you, I mean, whether people look at it as, you know, just basic instruction for life, or whether they take it to heart, the scriptures talk about, you know, never discipline in anger. And as you just sharing, you know, you come to that space where you're in control, you're trying to de-escalate, you're being as objective, but there are times when parents don't appreciate that they need to take a time out themselves.
Absolutely. Well, discipline, you know, comes from the Latin root word discipulus, which means, you know, disciple. And so in a way, our children are our own disciples, and we need to be the shepherd of our children.
Yeah. I think that's where, again, you know, I think we get caught up too much, and I was trying not to get into that part of it, but I think it's what is driving so much of the division. quote-unquote religion, however we define that. We see it again, spare the rod, spoil the child. But have we misinterpreted that? And
well, that's one of the arguments that we do make, and that's one of the some philosophies, some parenting. You look at, well, the rod is much like the shepherd's
guiding, right?
Crook, right?
Yeah, the staff.
His staff, and it, on one end it's curved, and that's what he uses if the sheep wanders or the little lamb wanders. He uses it to bring it back and guide it.
Yeah.
And then the other end, which is pointy, he might use to ward off danger. Like a wolf or something. And when we think about a shepherd, they use that to guide the sheep, not to beat them.
Not to beat them. It's a guiding rod.
And I know from my own experience, my grandmother having a farm, and we had lots of sheep and cattle, and they were very delicate and very, you couldn't treat them, harshly. You couldn't even run after them. They would have a heart attack, And so I learned a hard lesson when I was little. We thought it'd be fun, but
you too?
almost killed a sheep. But so when you think about it, and a lot can be interpreted differently. But we always say, you want to model what you want your child to do, and so many people have said that, well, I don't, hit my child, I spank them, and I'm like, well, how do you spank them without hitting them? Yeah. And it's not about the intention, because I've even had parents that, were spanking their child and they accidentally hurt them. Not their intention was not to.
Not at all. Yeah.
But when you have a much larger adult, and then you might be angry, and you just don't know your strength sometimes. And we always, we want our children not to fear us, but to trust us, because trusting is going to be more enduring. Fear and, but trying to parent from a place of fear and control is just not going to establish a good, positive relationship with your child,
So true.
And if we want to parent effectively, we need to parent from, a place of having a positive relationship with our child, so that they will come to us and we can guide them, and give them the values and give them the information they seek as they learn and develop and grow.
I mean, the thing is, how is why is it our children respond to us? Is it a fear or a respect?
And those are two different things.
Very distinctly different.
Very different. And if you as a parent, if I want my child to respect me, I need to treat them with respect.
Respect begets respect.
Exactly. So if I don't want my child to yell, I don't yell. If I don't want my child to hit, I don't hit.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to, look at solving problems in a way where you have to coerce or threaten or, have someone fear you, because as we get older, we know that's not going to work well.
and what if the script is flipped much older? That they
absolutely.
Then think that's how they do it. And I think that's where we, even as I sort of acknowledge my own behavior response as I reflect on myself, you don't appreciate that you repeat a cycle, good or bad. And it's by modeling you've become sort of accepting or trained by the thing.
Well, yes, it's difficult to model something we haven't seen.
Right.
And so I have a lot of parents that are coming to me saying, I don't want to spank, but what do I do instead? And so that's where we come in. We're the instead. Let's give you some tools. Let's give you some ideas and some knowledge on what you can do differently, so that you can still sometimes even have to repair their relationship with your child, so that they do care and they do, because children overall, our belief is that children want to please us. Children do well if they can, not if they want to. And when you can look at it from that perspective, you're going to approach that child very differently, instead of with judgment, but instead with curiosity and with empathy and with understanding. Their little brains are still developing, and they're, I always say they don't have a full deck, so they're at a disadvantage, right?
That's for us to help to shuffle that deck for them so that they can have a winning hand. When we come back, we can talk about it, because they do some, spanking or beating or whichever the intent is there, and we may not hurt them physically, but what about the emotional impact?
Exactly.
And all the other things that would come from that. But could be asked then about whether it's just semantics or word choices, as it were. How do we respond? Some of those other tools that we could put into our tool belt, as you referenced, to help us. The alternative, the instead. All right, let's see what the Family Resource Center has to share with us. We invite you to be a part of the discussion if you so choose. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Things just got a bit hotter on the island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Please be advised that the pension contribution holiday has been extended until 30th of June 2021. Employers and plan members should ensure arrangements are in place for salary deductions and remittance following this date. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, keeping you informed. For further information, visit chamberpensions.ky, and for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. We're here for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us from the Family Resource Center, Ms. Miles Ruby. Really appreciate this continued partnership that we have, and I think the society understands the resource that is there. One thing that I think your office has done, is the resources for all of us as parents, whatever capacity and role that takes, is, it's useful that we avail ourselves of that, because extra tools, just like we do in our jobs to get upskill, what better way to help ourselves and help our families and help our societies?
Well, I always say it's never too late to be a better parent. And I've been a parent for almost 28 years, and I'm still learning. And, there are things I wish I knew when my girls were little, smaller. But with that comes, we learn as we go some of the time. And sometimes we make intentions to change the way we're going to parent because we didn't like the way that we were parented, as children, the way that we were raised. And so we make an intentional decision to do something different. And so that knowledge is powerful, because with that you can create change. And so, and I know I did that with mine. I did some things a little differently, and I feel better about that. And I think with that, you have a different relationship with your child. And we want our children to come to us for any and everything, because we want to be that first source of information that they learn from, and with our family values. And,
right.
And, and that's going to look different in different families. But, we want them to learn from us and not from the schoolyard or from the internet. Yeah. And so if we want them to do that, we have to have that open, positive relationship with them, where they feel they can come to us with their curiosity and with their questions as they develop and grow. And the world's so different today with the internet and social media. And so as parents, it's harder to navigate sometimes, because, again, we didn't have to deal with that growing up. So it's new.
And our children have a lot more information, not necessarily accurate.
Exactly, especially on the internet. Yeah. I mean, you just don't know what they're learning, and what these myths and genders, and as far as this is okay to treat someone a certain way or to objectify someone. And so we want to make sure that we pass on our family values to our children.
With that in mind, then, it would seem that as parents, just like we would if we were in a particular profession, having continued education. As parents, we need to continue to learn 10 workshops, figure out how to be better, read manuals, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And the notion from what you just shared, communication with our children, sharing with them, ensuring that they understand that it may be uncomfortable, they may be unsure even what they're asking or even how to ask, but come to the parent first. But the parent now needs to also have that resource, that knowledge.
And it's again, if it wasn't, it's difficult to model it if we haven't seen it. So especially if we need to talk to our children about their growing bodies and the whole sex talk, right? It's important that we do it over time, age appropriate, and start off with, when they're 2 and 3, just their body parts, and this is my elbow, this is my nose, and just, make sure that you use proper names, because, we want to make sure that, we're protecting our children. And if you can't name something, you can't protect it. And we talk about that in the Darkness to Light training as well. And it's not, you're not going to go into the whole, what is sex, but, it's important that they learn about their bodies. And if they're curious, that's normal. And about boundaries, even as young as 2 and 3, if they're not comfortable with, Aunt Jane kissing them or Uncle Bob, hugging them, then they need to have that right to say, that doesn't feel good to me, and to have that boundaries be able to be set by the child. Now you make sure you give Uncle Bob a hug, and you can see they don't want it. What I would do or recommend is, get down on their level and say, arms stretched out, can I have a hug? And they may go, no. I'm like, okay, when you're ready, and then maybe 5 minutes later, they'll come running up to you. But it's on their terms, because as they get older, they need to learn about, the boundaries and what they're comfortable with. Certain people have, different people have different boundaries as far as what they're comfortable with, as far as, touching. And so often, we teach our children, even if it's a safe touch, if you doesn't feel right, that's okay. You just say, no, thank you.
Yeah. There's for want of a better way to put it, an energy. There's some emotional, something that you feel. Even
like
as
intuition.
Intuition, yeah. I love that word, right? And if it doesn't feel right, then I have to try to develop to trust this thing. What are we doing? Trust the gut, right? The second brain?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we want to empower our children that way, because as they get older and they get into relationships, they need to be able to say, hey, that's not okay to touch me, or don't, emotionally also to create boundaries, not just physical boundaries, and to understand about consent, and to teach both our boys and our girls about consent.
Informed consent.
Informed consent and what that looks like, because in a way we're teaching our child that, we don't, if we, force our loved ones on them to give them a hug or a kiss, and we're teaching them, it kind of goes opposite of what we're teaching them about informed consent. We're saying, well, you don't have a choice, over your body and, your domain, right?
So I think something too we do maybe as parents, again, excellent intentions. Come give grandma a hug and I'll give you a nickel or whatever it is. Here's a candy or shiny brand new penny. Well, these days it better be a lot more.
But where does that lead when they get older? Oh, here, come here. I'll give you a cell phone.
Cell phone, no?
So we have to be careful about what our behavior is implicating and what message it's sending to our children. And so, we want to teach them, that, it's a part of us, and as they get older, there's different ways to talk to them. And if you're not comfortable, there are resources out there. There's some really good books, some really good videos, because especially if you weren't given the talk, or just the one talk, when you were a teenager and you already knew everything, right? Like most teens think they do. But, you don't want your child to learn about, this beautiful thing, through pornography, right? I mean, and that they might go to school one day and someone has something on their phone and they, hey, come look at this. And then all of a sudden they've been exposed, they've been sexualized, and so if they had been educated, they would say, hey, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's and they could report that, but instead they just feel weird inside and they don't know what to do with it, and then they won't go home and talk about it, and then they have to sit with that, and with that might come some guilt and some shame, and then they associate that that those feelings with their sexuality or any of that interaction. So it's important that we be their first teacher when it comes to that.
I think too sometimes we don't, even though we may recognize it, we perhaps don't appreciate the impact. Whether it's the music, whatever the media is, whether it's television, it could even be a book that the school has assigned as a book report, for instance, depending on what age the child is, that there's content there. And as a parent, do we know what is it that they're doing, watching, engaged in? Are we using it? What's the nice words we use now? It's a teaching moment.
Right, it's a learning opportunity.
A learning opportunity.
And we want, even if you haven't had that talk with your child yet, it's not too late. There's ways where you can just find out what they know and just get curious. And you can, I wrote down some books here, that, you could use as a launching pad. There's a really good one for little ones called It's Not the Stork. And then there's also a video on YouTube, I think Daniel Tiger explains where babies come from. There's a really good book called Talk to Me First by Deborah Rothman. It's a little older, but it's really good content. And then there's some websites, healthychildren.org and amaze.org. And there are some videos for parents and children, but again, if the videos for the children, make sure you watch it first, and then so that if there are any questions that might come up, you're comfortable with, that you feel confident that you can share this with your child, and of course, it's going to be age appropriate, and because we want to create an environment where our kids feel comfortable that they can talk to us about these issues, about these questions that they have, and it's okay if we don't know everything.
But I was going to say, we do have a call online as we're speaking to Ms. Miles Ruby from the Family Resource Center. Talk early and talk often. Well, that's what we're going to do. Go to the phone. Say good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hi, good afternoon, Dwayne.
How are you today? Good afternoon.
Ms. Miles.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You?
I'm good. So I heard you on. I just wanted to call and say that, I had my time and I went to Ms. Miles, and I just want to encourage persons who are feeling maybe overwhelmed with whatever it is with parenting, with children, with talking and understanding that they don't come with a manual.
No, they don't.
It doesn't even matter how educated you are.
Exactly.
That doesn't make you a better parent. And I went and I participated in the parenting class program for 12 weeks it was, and what it did for me and for my son, it was very rewarding for both of us from both sides. And I just think the Family Resource Center is a really great resource in itself, and what it has available for parents. And I know people think, another thing to do, but don't look at it that way. Try and look at it that it's something to assist you in doing what you're doing, but doing better, and so that the positive impact comes from your child, because at all times we want to ensure that we're looking at the best interest of our children, and what they are dealing with, we didn't necessarily deal with when we were younger. And I'm not saying we didn't have trauma, and I'm not saying we didn't have issues. I'm just saying that everything is much more open, and they don't have a choice but to deal with it.
Yeah, man.
That's so true.
Well, for you to share that, I think that's something that we've probably said often, that we believe that these resources, these tools are for them, whatever them,
it's for other people.
Yeah, it's not for us. And thank you for sharing that, because everybody would recognize, as you said, it doesn't matter how educated you are.
It doesn't. I mean, like she said, our kids
but thank
don't
you very
come
much.
with
Sorry,
manual.
Thank you very much. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, I just wanted to encourage parents to use the resources that are there. I can't emphasize that as much, that use the resources. Nobody's going to make a judgment call on you. It doesn't make you a weak parent. Really, all it does is make you a better parent.
Thank you. So true.
Yeah. Thank you. And have a great week as well. And I appreciate that. That is something that I think you were championing before, but you were saying, Ms. Miles.
Well, it's true. Like I was saying, it's never too late to be a better parent. And you might have a child that's very different than, someone else's child. And you don't have the tools or the knowledge on how to deal with them effectively. You know, they might have some challenging behaviors, and everything you've tried hasn't worked, and you're just, you know, fed up, and you're just exhausted. And at the same time, your relationship is, you know, with your child is pretty damaged. And so there's, you know, we offer tools. We say, try this, see how that works. You know, some things are going to work better for some people. But like I said, it's just important to try to have as many tools in your parenting tool belt as possible. And that includes, you know, learning how to talk to our children about sex and about their sexuality. And so it's not this dark, dirty little secret. And so, and that's one of the other things that people can come to the Family Resource Center for if they're like, I don't know where to start, you know, and we can help out. We can, and all our services are free. So
is that something we can talk about after the break? How to talk to our children about it?
Absolutely.
You know what? Talk early, talk often. And you were talking about the halt, you know, whether you're hungry, angry, or you're lonely or tired. Maybe not just the child. Maybe it's you, the adult, as well, the parent.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, you know, talk early, talk often. Well, let's talk about it. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Want your kids to gain social skills, independence, self-confidence indoors? King's Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp is the solution. Make memories, learn new skills and life skills. Activities include basketball, football, dodgeball, arts and crafts, squash, drama, kids aerobics, bowling, and much, much more. King's Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp will be held from July 6th through August 6th. July 6th through August 6th. Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Camp includes all activities, 1 lunch, and 2 breaks. The early bird special ends on May 31st. For more information, call 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky. Your one-stop facility for fitness, recreation, relaxation.
Student registration for the 2021-2022 academic school year is open to the public from 8th April to 30th June 2021. Students must now be registered online at schools.edu.ky. Parents will have the ability to enter their students' information and securely upload all relevant documents. If you need assistance, please contact the Department of Education Services at 945-1199 or email edu.registration@gov.ky.
The Water Authority Cayman wishes to advise its valued customers and the motoring public of planned works to upgrade the water supply infrastructure along Dorsey Drive between Portland Road and Owen Roberts Drive, Dorsey Drive roundabout, in the vicinity of the airport post office and refuel gas station. Preliminary works will begin the week of the 19th of April. Works will take place between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. The project will last for approximately 10 weeks. During the course of the works, traffic management efforts will be in place with signs directing the flow of traffic. Motorists are encouraged to drive with caution when they are in the area to protect their safety and the safety of the Water Authority staff. Throughout the course of the work, customers in the area may experience service outages. The authority will make every effort to give advance notice relating to outages. Customers can also visit our website at waterauthority.ky for outage notices. The Water Authority appreciates the patience and understanding of its customers and the public as it undertakes these works and apologize in advance for any inconveniences this may cause.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks too to the Family Resource Center, and especially this afternoon. You know, one of their great colleagues over there, Miss Miles Ruby, for sharing with us. You guys, as the caller last shared, you through the Family Resource Center provide an invaluable resource, with and hopefully our people will see it, as the call emphasized, not as weakness. Don't matter who you are, this is not for them. This is for us. As you shared, Miss Miles, it's not not too late to be a better
It's never
parent.
too late to be a better parent. And even if you feel like, it's foregone, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I started learning so much when my girls were teenagers and like, preteens.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what I learned was validating. I'm like, okay, I did a lot of things right, but I could have done some other things better.
Yeah.
And that's okay. No parent is perfect. And it's important to know that, we're doing the best we can with the tools we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we don't have the tools, we need to go find them.
Yeah.
And, even at work, if we don't have the tools, we go to trainings.
Mm-hmm.
We upskill ourselves. And parenting is no different.
Yeah.
Different times call for different measures. And
Mm-hmm.
and especially with the internet and with how much we see, on media, all the sexualization, even in commercials, it's important that we have these talks with our kids. And, as early as, 2 to 4, we explain to them that babies are gifts, created by parents. We use the correct names for all body parts, including their genitals. We don't give them nicknames because that can really get confusing and it can lead to misinterpretations.
Mm-hmm.
We explain the difference between safe and unsafe touch. We don't use good or bad touch because that can be confusing because, we teach them where it's okay to be touched and by who, especially if you're, I have to clean you.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay if mommy and daddy, but nobody else. And then, like where the bathing suit covers you, but, it's by teaching them body parts, they can protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And set boundaries as well, as like I was talking earlier about, if they want to give a family member a kiss or a hug, let that be up to them,
Mm-hmm.
not the adult, right? And make sure that, we let them know it's okay to follow that gut feeling. They might just, for whatever reason, not want
Mm-hmm.
a hug from a certain person. And as a parent, we have to put aside our maybe embarrassment and not worry so much about what other people think, but say, hey, I'm trying to teach my child about, boundaries and to trust their instinct,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, their gut. And if they're not comfortable with that, that's, people need to ask for consent to be touched.
And it may not even be something sinister, so to speak,
it might be
right?
totally innocent,
Yeah.
and most of the time it is. But we also know that, unfortunately, we talk about this too because we want to safeguard our children,
Yeah.
and we know that, unfortunately, most people that do abuse children sexually are people that are known and trusted by the family.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the stranger in a dark alley somewhere.
No, it's the person you trust.
Exactly. That's how they gain access to the child. But, we want to prepare, them, especially as they get older, between ages 5 and 8, their bodies are going to start changing. And we want to talk to them about their bodies before that change takes place. It can be very scary for children to not know what's happening to their bodies. And so we want to explain, what sex is and instill the values around sex, of course, in a very age-appropriate way. There's, in the Darkness to Light training, there's one presenter who talks about that 8 is great. By the age 8, especially in this day and time, they need to know about their reproductive system, about
8 years old.
Yes. And I know a lot of I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what?
Yeah.
But the more I learned about child safeguarding, the more I understood why that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in today's age, but it's going to look different for different families but if you instill the value around it, then and you practice that, it's going to be more meaningful to the child, and they're going to understand it, but instead of hearing it from someone on the playground,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or, actually click on something, on the internet, and then go down this rabbit hole, and not know what they're looking at, and then be influenced by that, and in a negative way. And so, as they get older, especially teenagers, or 9 to 12, before they even become teenagers, again, we're building this talk. We're not doing it all at once, from early on. That's why we say talk early, talk often, just, and you don't have to offer too much. A lot of times they'll just ask a question or two and then they'll be done,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll be off to the next thing. And it's important to stay calm and in control and to educate yourself on
Mm-hmm.
some things. But it's okay to feel that these things, are difficult to talk about, because as our children change, sometimes as a parent that's hard to accept. I've been there, to see them change from these little toddlers to budding adults. It's as a parent, you have to change too. But it's important that from ages 9 to 12 that they really understand what reproduction looks like, and that sexual feelings are natural, and create, what we find is if you help them create goals for their future, like, oh, I want to go to school, I want to go to college, and I want to do this, they'll focus more on that and realize that, these other things could get in the way of my what I want to do, of my goals. So they may not participate in that risky behavior. And instead of just scaring them with, you could get pregnant or you could get an STD, and not just the negative part of it, but look at, hey, this is going to influence your ability to go to college or to go abroad or to do what you want to do, your goals and your dreams. And so we focus on the positive, what the child wants, and they can see, well, this is a choice, and I choose not to do this because I have other plans. Yeah,
that can be postponed to down the road.
Absolutely, And
she may want to travel through Europe, for instance, or Africa.
It's kind of hard to do that with an infant.
What's going to happen then?
Right, or if you get an STD and then you have it for the rest of your life, and then you have to share that with your partner for life.
But how does it affect your quality of life?
Well, exactly. And so many children need to know what sex is, and it's and it's important that parents are comfortable talking about it, and if they're not, to maybe find someone who is, or to go get the resources. Sometimes you can just start with a book, or to kind of go for a drive, so it's not like face to face, and it's not as intimidating, or go for a walk or something, and just kind of find out where they are, what do they know, and a lot of parents would be surprised. What they will know. Now, as far as teenagers, it is important to know that the age of consent in Cayman is 16. And so, however, they're still children until they're 18. And so it's important to know that. And it's not what's the word I'm looking for? Just because they turn 16 doesn't mean that they're at the age where they can give consent, is what that means. They're older. But what we find, especially in Cayman, after some of the surveys that we've done, like with the National Drug Council and PAHO, is that most teenagers are having sex with adults, not with their peers, not with teenagers. Wow, and so, there's an imbalance of power, and are they really giving consent? And so we want to keep them safe, and it's going to look different in different families again, based on your values. But there's a vulnerability there. We want to make sure that we have empowered our children to understand the boundaries, to understand informed consent, and to understand the consequences, both positive and negative, of doing these things. It's important also to explain the emotional safety, because they get their heart broken, too, and it's important to consult, family planning clinic if that's the route that the family needs to go. But, and to understand, that, sex isn't just, vaginal. It can be oral or anal, and that they can still get STDs from that. And so many kids think that they're not, if they're doing that. And it's unfortunate, because I know it's been an issue here in Cayman that kids think, well, if I'm doing this type of sex, it's not really sex, but it is, and they can still suffer consequences from it, and also emotionally, right? And so it's important to have this conversation with both boys and girls.
Yes, yeah.
Not just the girls, but the boys too.
Speak to both of the,
Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing with us.
Sure.
And
I know it's an uncomfortable topic, but we need to talk more about it to get comfortable, so that our kids are educated and informed.
We think about illnesses in the past, cancer, for instance. We didn't say the word publicly. We whispered it when we did. Now we're having this conversation. So, thank you. And as the caller shared, what you have over there, the Family Resource Center,
thank you,
is invaluable. So we'll get a chance, maybe at some time again, to continue talking about other things. But to our parents, if they want, just quickly, hit up the Family
How
Resource
do they
Center?
reach us?
Yeah.
Yes, they can give us a call at 949-0006. That's 949-0006. You can also email us at frc@gov.ky, and we do have a website, frc.gov.ky. You can look at all the different services and programs that we offer. And again, all our services are free. We are under the Department of Counseling Services, and we offer individual parent coaching, we offer groups, we offer a lot of different things. And so we will tailor it to what your family needs in this moment.
Well, hopefully people will, as a caller, sort of, invited us. Let's use the resource. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Enjoy
for
the
having
week.
me. It's
It's
always
a
a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so listeners, let's pause quickly and take the news break. When we come back, we invite you to join us as we continue in another vein. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm Shanda Gallego with your latest headlines. Government reported the results of 330 COVID-19 tests on Friday. All came back negative. Before the weekend, Public Health had administered more than 80,000 vaccines locally, with an estimated 67% of the country having gotten at least one dose of the two-dose course. Turning to international news now, at least 23 people were shot and 2 were killed Sunday when 3 men got out of a vehicle and began firing into a crowd outside a concert venue in southern Florida, police said. According to police, the incident stemmed from an ongoing rivalry between 2 different groups. The intended target was believed to have been standing in front of the concert venue when the shooting began. Police have not detailed the identities of the shooters or victims in what is one of the largest mass shootings in Miami-Dade County's history. There have been 41 homicides in the county this year as of May 23rd, the same amount as at this point in 2020, according to Miami-Dade Police Department data. Vietnam's health ministry has detected a suspected new coronavirus variant, which it said appears to be a hybrid of 2 highly transmissible strains. A new coronavirus variant with characteristics from the existing Indian and UK variants had been detected in Vietnam for the first time, Vietnam's Minister of Health told a national news conference Saturday. And China has announced that it will allow couples to have up to 3 children after census data showed a steep decline in birth rates. China scrapped its decades-old one-child policy in 2016, replacing it with a 2-child limit, which has failed to lead a sustained upsurge in births. The cost of raising children in cities has deterred many Chinese couples. The latest move was approved by the Chinese president at a meeting of top Communist Party officials. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Charles Gerald Kirkconnell, 1891 to 1961. Charles Gerald Kirkconnell was born and raised on Cayman Brac. He was married to Olivine Elizabeth Eden of Grand Cayman, and the couple had 3 children. Captain Charlie was one of the founding brothers of the shipping and merchandising firm of R.B. Kirkconnell and Brothers Limited. Many Caymanian seamen were trained on Kirk vessels and later worked for national bulk carriers. Captain Charlie was also a shipbuilder who built the largest ship ever to be built in the Cayman Islands, the M.V. Kirksons. He and the late Bertie Foster were instrumental in helping to build the airport on Cayman Brac, which they both helped to finance. The clearing of the airstrip was done entirely by hand. Captain Charlie financed most of the houses that were built by seamen employed by NBC, as there was no bank on the Brac. He served as a vestryman for the Sister Islands in the Assembly of Justices and Vestry. Captain Charles Gerald Kirkconnell.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us. And certainly appreciative of this opportunity now to focus on the road code and road safety and see how we are complying, how we considerate, cautious, and careful on the roads, and to do that through a citizens' initiative as part of the, what we call it, a Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. See how
Bravo!
I tell you, boy, he must have rehearsed that. Well, that other voice giving me the accolades is none other than Miss Katina Angley. Good afternoon, my lady.
Good afternoon, kind sir. How are you today?
Oh, blessed. I am blessed. Very thankful. Very blessed.
Amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, Cayman Islands. You reach in the name of Jesus Christ, our wonderful Lord and Savior. And with us this afternoon is none other but Brother Joey Ebanks, evangelist to the Cayman Islands. Good evening, Brother Joey.
Good evening. Thank you for having me again.
Wonderful. So today we are looking at the road code and road safety. And my big question, and that of, I think, most other reasonable, aware, civic-minded, safety-minded individuals, are we adhering to these two?
Well, I'll tell you what, a public confession. I mean, I got first traffic ticket in all my driving on Friday evening.
Wow.
How long have you been driving?
Legally? Sorry, Judy. No, it's a different time. Sorry. Some days you have to laugh in order to be able to put forward a good face and a good foot, right?
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the bottom of the road where the new bypass sort of intersects, right? There's a stop sign there, very visible, right? I came to a rolling stop apparently. Okay. Now I honestly believe, and thank to the officers, you know, very professional, very polite. And in the past, I know I've never always stopped at it, because to me that's a perfect place for a roundabout or even a giveaway, just the way the road rolls, right? On this occasion, I'm pretty sure that I stopped, but you know what? Maybe that was penance for the last times I know I didn't stop. I'm not going to argue with it. The officer said, sorry, you know, here's your ticket. He didn't offer me a sign, but I have to pay that now. That's less money for chocolate. So not raising funds to pay, but simple as that. And he did say, we're going to be enforcing every infraction, but hopefully there'll be better examples too.
Sure.
And you know, we'll learn from that as well. So are we complying in that case? Otherwise,
confession is good for the soul, Dwayne.
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
it is.
And today's show, actually, I managed to put it together with the assistance of the RCIPS and the guidance they were able to give me through the traffic law and the traffic regulations, and also with conferring with the National Roads Authority, who gave me some guidance about the dump trucks and weight-bearing loads and so on. And so, you know, it's good that we have a citizens body that is partnering with the other entities, and together we can actually make a difference, a positive change in our communities. And I think, you know, just being here today to deal with this issue, to bring more awareness to it, to bring awareness from a citizen's perspective is a great thing. Last week we had the RCIPS was on, and a lot of people took that like, oh, well, that's their duty, you know, it's the RCIPS. But here we are today as citizens saying it is our civic duty to obey the law,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to bring the law before the people and to just make us all aware of what it is and how it works. And Brother Joey here will share with us some about the Christian responsibility to adhere to the law.
Right.
So,
and we do have a caller join us as well. So, Joey, you want to, what do you want to do? I'll be guided by you. We want to hear what the caller has to share and then get into it, Ms. Katina. Since you're paying for the hour, you get the pleasure to dictate.
Yes, and hopefully the call is in line with the focus for the show today.
You want to take the call before you pray, or you want prayer before first?
Let's do the prayer first, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much for my apologies.
All right, let's pray. Our most gracious and merciful Father, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy upon us, O Lord. Father, we just want to give you thanks, Lord, for your amazing grace, Lord. Thank you for your love and your guidance, Father. Thank you, Father, for your Holy Spirit that leads us in your word. Thank you, Lord, that you have given us your word, the Holy Word that has documented a way out of every encounter we may have. And so guide us, O Lord. Father, we lift up the government of the Cayman Islands. We ask, O Lord, that you will lead them in the rooms, that you be present with them, Father, in the Spirit, and that you will guide them in the decisions that they're making, Father. Guide the civil service, O Father. Guide this show and Sister Katina, Lord. Bless it, Father, and use it for your glory. Bless the residents of the Cayman Islands, Father. As you draw them together, Lord, we ask that they will come to know you in a meaningful way, Lord. Guide the pastors and those that you have ordained, O Father, to spread your gospel. Bless the street evangelism, O Father. Move others, O Lord, to spread the word on the street, that those lost may hear it, Father, and may be guided to you by your Spirit and your word. We ask, O Lord, that you will guide us now in this show, that it may glorify you in all ways. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Well, to the caller.
To the caller.
You want to take us to the phones, Ms. Katina?
Pleasant good afternoon, caller.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm well, I am well.
Praise the Lord.
But I just had a call about you and the police and the little mishmash. I tell you about going over that place.
Boy, you know.
Jojo, how you doing?
I'm good. Ticket free.
You rolled over?
Yeah, no, man.
My video came out, but I didn't know we had so many clip faces.
You know, it's one of those things, right, where, and I honestly realize sometimes things happen for a reason. I don't believe in coincidences necessarily, right?
So you need to be prepared for the show today?
Yeah, man. and those, on Friday, I'll be honest with you, 100% as you can be. Sure, I stopped, but I know in the past I didn't, right? But I'm not going to argue with the officer because you know it is you know sometimes a teaching moment, a learning opportunity, and it may remind you to be a little bit more cautious and considerate and careful.
And law-abiding.
And law. That part I had down felt okay sometimes.
Oh, okay, Mrs. Reese. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
To your lady guest. Yeah, good afternoon to you too, ma'am.
Good afternoon to you as well, ma'am.
But I had to leave you out to make you feel what it feels like to be left out.
Hush, don't say a word. Don't say no more. Listen, guess who I seen on Saturday?
I'm not going there.
Oh, get in. But you can leave me now. Well, I can go right ahead. No, you stay on the line. I can do a shout out right now to Mr. George Gillette over there in Borden Town. It was great to see him on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And to Miss Melissa, Christina, Miss Margaret, and Miss Maxine Roberts. Good afternoon. God bless you. And to you as well, Miss Charlene. Thank you so much for your encouragement and always finding something to lift me up with every time I hear your voice. God bless you.
God bless you too, baby.
Bless you.
All right.
Keep on trucking up.
Amen.
You know, but and thank you very much. But this is where I think sometimes we don't appreciate how we run afoul of the law, the traffic law in particular. But I think where the vehicles we drive, whether they're government vehicles, whether they're police vehicles, whether they're part of the government fleet, whether it's a company fleet, they're recognizable. And so as we drive those vehicles, that we need to know as best as we can, drive in a safe manner and a law-abiding manner. But even then, we as individual citizens, so I appreciate, I guess, the partnership you have with the RCIPS in this particular initiative to remind us. So take us through, Ms. Coutinho, road safety, the road code, and the like.
Yeah. So, Dwayne, regardless of what vehicle that we are driving, while there may be a greater emphasis or greater requirements on some vehicles according to the category or class in which they are registered, the general duty of road users, regardless of what vehicle that you're driving, whether it's a little compact, little fit going down the road, or whether it's the Mercedes 7 whatever, or whether it's a dump truck or the public bus, we all have the same general duty according to the Traffic Act 2021 revision and under Section 67 of that law. And I'm going to quote this. I like to quote the law so that people get it. It's not me that's saying it. This is what the law is saying. And this is the social part of the law. This is where you see the law trying to take care of citizens in the country, not trying to penalize them, trying to prevent them from coming to harm. So it says a road user shall exercise care and attention when using the road and have due regard to A, the safety and comfort of other road users, and B, the preservation and protection of public and private property. It doesn't give you a category of driver or a class of driver or a class of vehicle. That is the responsibility of every driver in this country. Safety and comfort, preservation and protection, person and property. And this is something that is more and more evident that people are disregarding in their social and moral obligations one to the other. I think when it comes down to issues such as this, we should be getting together just for mere reminders, just in case we haven't discussed it for a while and we're starting to lose contact with. But when we have to come together because there's a grave concern for our safety and the protection and preservation of our property, it attests to us having lost all contact with our moral obligations, one to the other. And then you have to get around to imposing on people the duties of the law. And you find that under Section 68. And it is a lengthy section. It covers everything from A to O. And I won't go through A to O today. I'm just going to go through the ones that are most relevant to this topic here today. And under Section 68A, it says to drive in such a manner as to have full control of the vehicle at all times.
So these are the duties of the driver, right?
These are duties of the driver set it under Section 68.
Right.
I saw that one of the things that was not mentioned in duty of the driver was to stop and render help to someone on the side of the road. So I would say that the duties of the driver as listed on the Section 68, it may be not an exhaustive list, but an indicative list as to the duties that we have legally, practically, and morally as well, you know. Except where driving an emergency vehicle, comply with all traffic signs and signals. E, comply with all...
sorry, before you go on, can I ask you about that section, that particular subsection, except where driving an emergency vehicle? Is it my understanding that even then, so it's probably one of the most important emergency vehicles, whether it's the ambulance or the fire truck, even when they're approaching a stop sign or intersection, whether the lights or stop sign, that they will slow and proceed with caution just in case there come vehicles. They just don't barrel through.
They don't just barge through. They still have
right? Because remember, they have an objective, and their objective is the destination.
To get there safely as well.
Right, to get there safely, right? So they don't want to be stopped by an accident. They want to make sure. So they're panning with their eyes those intersections and slowing down as well.
Exactly. And the reason why I want to emphasize that, because here is, let's use the fire truck for instance, a very big bright red vehicle coming through, right? Ambulance alike. And we've seen that. We've seen them come to the intersections. The horns are blaring, the lights are flashing. They're making as much, drawing much attention to themselves. But it's still slow and proceed safely and with some degree of caution and consideration through that intersection. Now, this vehicle is responding to a called emergency. So we ourselves now, as a driver rushing to work or just careless for driving, stop signs, stop lights, maybe we should obey them too, given this example. We also realize that if those vehicles, the emergency vehicles, don't do that, potentially there's an issue of liability. They just can't barrel through. I mean, there's some case law, I think, that goes back a way, but that's separate and apart. So the notion is be careful, even if you're in those vehicles, right?
But then we have the law that says we must give way to vehicles, right? So let's use the intersection of Harbour Drive and 4th Street, where we have a stoplight. So we're on 4th Street. We hear the emergency vehicle coming north, going to south on Harbour Drive. The reason why we can hear it is because they have it on, because they're in emergency and they're alarming, like you just said.
Right.
We're on our way. We are in.
Sorry. Come on, Joey.
Come on. We are in an emergency. We're trying to get to the hospital. We are in the act of trying to save a life or mediate damage that has been done to a human body, because the ambulances do not carry animals inside of them. There's a human being who needs medical attention. We're on our way. You're at the intersection on 4th Street to make a right turn onto Harbour Drive heading north. The light changes green. You have the right to go. What is the action you should take, considering you have other cars behind you? The action that you should take is put on your hazard lights so that the drivers behind you know you are at a stop because there's a hazard. Maybe they just didn't hear the ambulance. They may have their music up a bit louder than yours. But you hear the ambulance. You know it's coming. You know you're supposed to give way. If you proceed out, you could proceed out at the very moment when the ambulance driver, thinking that there's all clear ahead of him, all traffic has pulled over, his lights are blaring, his siren is blaring, he proceeds through. You decide to rush out and cause the accident. How long is it going to take the ambulance to pass through the intersection? What is the moral and right thing for you to do? Right? So, going on, then we have E, comply with all signals and other lawful directions given by constables or wardens. F, and wardens is those, you know how when you're doing a road work and you see the guys standing out there and they have the stop and go signs? So those are wardens of the law at that time, right? F, drive at a speed and in a manner and at a distance from other vehicles as to be able to stop in an emergency without being involved in a collision. F has 3 requirements in one subsection of the law. It doesn't say or, it says and. It mandates that you do these 3 things at the same time. Drive at a speed and in a manner and at a distance from other vehicles as to be able to stop in an emergency without being involved in a collision. H, give prior warning of any intended maneuver by means of the prescribed hand or traffic indicator signals. J, manage the vehicle so as to be able to stop within the limit of vision available at any time. And O, comply with the road code. So I want to look first at the manner in which the dump trucks are driving. But I'm going to give a little interjection here before going on to that, in that I did speak with a gentleman, at the National Roads Authority about the safety of workers on the road and embarking on a public safety training program in collaboration with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. And I also mentioned to them that CUC has a very effective road safety plan in the way that they set out their signs. When CUC deploys their signs, you know from way in advance. Listen, I need to start slowing down. This is a CUC sign. There's work going on up ahead. And you can pretty much time how fast you need to slow down because of how they have their signs placed. And that's what we need, that type of certainty, that type of procedure.
That's right.
As drivers, because we need think time and break time and indicator time as we're going along on the road. So the placement of signs, as was mentioned just now, and the placements of people on the road is a part that I was going to cover today. But because of having spoken to the guy at NRA, I'm just not going to focus on that as much as I'm going to focus on the dump trucks and the public bus drivers, in particular the dump trucks, and give an update about that partnership between the NRA and the RCIPS after I speak back with the gentleman from the NRA. And I know that it will be done, So going on then to the road code, which is found on the Traffic Control Regulations 2012 revision. When you first open the regulations, you will see the actual regulations. It's not until you scroll through and get to page 11 of the regulations, which then becomes page 1 of the actual road code. So for those persons who may choose to go online to legislation.gov.ky, and then click on the letter T so you can access the traffic regulations, the Traffic Act, and thereafter the traffic control regulations. You got to scroll through that document to get to the road code. So don't think that, it's not in there. It is. Just scroll a little, go a little further.
Dig a little deeper.
And the road code sets out the procedure for road usage for the safety and well-being of all citizens. And it's not just for drivers. Section 10 gives, part 10 of the road code gives an advisory about vulnerable road users. And I quote this to say that these include the elderly, children, physically challenged or handicapped persons, the blind, the deaf, and cyclists. And it says, and it's the soundest advice that you can have as a driver, assume that all pedestrians are vulnerable and proceed carefully.
And that always says that you're driving for you and everybody else.
That's right. Yes.
Good advice. I take that to heart.
Yes.
Pay attention, right?
When my cousin Neon Anglin Dune was my licensed driver, and when I was learning to drive, he got into the passenger seat and he said, "The first thing I'm going to tell you is drive as though everybody else on the road is a complete idiot and doesn't know anything about driving. Expect anything to happen at any time from any vehicle, any person on the road." And that is something that I got my license in. I won't. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Wasn't yesterday. Be careful. Wasn't yesterday.
Good to see you.
But it has stuck with me, right? Sound advice has a way of doing that. So just remember that. Assume that all pedestrians are vulnerable and proceed carefully. And the other thing is, we as licensed drivers driving in our licensed vehicles for which we have a mortgage seem to think that we have some great ownership of this black asphalt with this white or yellow line that decorates it. The owner of that asphalt is the pedestrian. When I say that, right, I say that to say this. Pedestrians and cyclists have a right to use the road. They don't require licenses.
No.
That there's no period of time that you can restrict a pedestrian from using the road except when there's public health or safety issues that the government has declared. They're free to come and to go. And as a matter of fact, government goes to the extent to ensure their safety as speeding some stripes across the road to allow them to cross from one side to the other side.
Flashing lights.
Yes. Okay. So when we see pedestrians trying to cross the road and there's not what I call a zebra crossing, pedestrian crossing, we in all courtesy should say to ourselves, let me put on my hazard lights, reduce my speed to a stop, and allow this pedestrian to pass across the road. Because if the pedestrian crossing had been there, they would have the right to do so anyway. All right? And it's just simply a good moral thing for us to do. Let them pass the road safely. as though they had a pedestrian crossing. So when you're trying to squeeze cyclists off the road, remember that while they have a duty to obey the road signals and signs and stuff, they have the rights to use the road that you have to pay to use.
We have a license as a driver. We have the right. Let's pick up on that after this short break. We'll come back with continued discussion. And it's good. We want our roads to be safe for all of us. So as we look at the road code and road safety under the auspices of the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education, well, we'll continue right after the break.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
It's Not Tool Fest again at A.L. Thompson's. Tool Fest is the annual 2-day event held since 2009. Not Tool Fest is our travel-restricted version. Instead of 2 days, Not Tool Fest is 2 weeks of the best prices of the year on select tools, buy one, get one offers, and a free laser level with tool purchases over $200. So plan now for a Not event that you cannot miss. May 21st through June 5th at A.L. Thompson's. It's not Tool Fest, but it's almost as good.
Are you a young Caymanian lady between the ages of 18 to 27 and looking to be inspired and empowered? The Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant and the world stage awaits you. Applications can be completed and submitted online at www.misscaymanislandsuniverse.com or email us at misscaymaninfo@gmail.com. The deadline for submission is 15th June. A world of opportunity awaits you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. Our good friends will be with us until 1 p.m. until 2 p.m. So 27 minutes or thereabouts remaining. Talking about road code and road safety with the company of Ms. Katina Anglin and Brother Joey Ebanks, the Christian Association for Civics and Political Education. So you were sharing that the road users, those of us who have a license, whether we're driving a car, riding a motorbike, or whatever else it is, we're licensed to drive, but the road user who is a cyclist or a pedestrian has a right. They can go on the road. There's no license for that.
No.
Significant difference, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So the Traffic Act, I'm getting used to that now. Since we have, Act of Traffic now.
So maybe we should throw in another disclaimer here that anytime you say law, we mean act.
Yeah.
And that act doesn't mean like an action. It's the law.
Just like the gender, he, me, she means he, and all one the same. In law.
Yeah. Okay. So going on now to the adherence, right, to the law. And the thing that really concerns us today is the dump truck driving on the roads. Now, I contacted someone who owns a dump truck, and he explained to me that they get paid according to the loads that they carry. They're not paid by the day.
No.
They're paid by the number of loads that they carry. So I can understand why there would be so much speed happening, because if you're trucking stuff from East End Quarry and you need to get that down to 7 Mile Beach Road, and you're getting paid by the number of loads that you carry, the distance there and the speed limit then interferes with the amount of money that you can make in a given day. And I can understand how that would make a dump truck driver feel. But you can't justify increasing your speed for a dump truck, for driving a dump truck, to justify. There's no way that you can justify the loss of life or damage or to self, personal property, because the distance that you have to travel is a bit greater than I have to travel for me to get work and paid for the day. The mere existence of the dump truck itself and its weight, empty, and the damage that it can do, just simply rolling.
Yes.
Not started, not traveling at 10 miles an hour. This guy forgets to apply the brakes on his dump truck, and it starts to roll, and it's an unstoppable beast. Right? You can't, two men can't jump in the front of it and put their hands on the hood and stop it from rolling forward. Right? It's a lethal weapon in its mere existence. You add some speed behind that now, or into that equation rather. And the fact that because they're heavy, they have a greater braking distance in a way, makes them even more lethal than my little Toyota vehicle, which can still kill somebody if I'm not careful and attentive in the way that I drive. And there's a simple fact that accidents do not make appointments.
That's right.
We don't know when they're going to happen. So drivers have to be even more cautious, more attentive, more considerate. It's a part of the law talking about having consideration, driving without consideration, right? Because of the damage that they can do. Now, getting in an accident, two Toyotas getting in an accident, you're probably going to have, if they were observing the speed limit, both occupants of the car, of the two cars, are probably going to need some medical attendance. Likely. Maybe a bit whiplash or a bit further. But a head-on collision with a dump truck traveling 40 miles per hour, overladen with a Toyota, we can have a coroner's van. Probably that's the only one on the scene besides fire truck who comes to try to cut him out, and the police who's going to investigate. The part about that is that when that coroner's van departs from there, there's no way to make right that situation because you can't bring that dead person back. Right? Now, what I found out by talking to the person at NRA is that the dump trucks are increasing their, I think he called it the axle height, so they can carry more weight because they're hauling distances so much further. What they're trying to do is, or not what they're trying to do, what they're doing is they're adding more than they are actually built to carry, which then in turn reduces their braking speed again, okay? But they're increasing their driving speed.
So this increasing of the axle height, this is something that's being done after the market, or this is manufacturers doing this?
No, it turns out that a lot of these trucks that we call new trucks on the island aren't really new. They're new to the island, but they're not new trucks.
Right.
And so they're built under the old specifications, and after they get here, then they are increasing the.
So something that we're doing here, or is being done after sold from the manufacturer. This is not. This is
after being imported here.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Now, is that a lapse in our Port Authority or Customs, Border Control,
or inspection process?
Are they aware of how you would even test for this? And I don't know the answer to that question. But maybe someone at NRA or at the Department of Vehicle Inspections might be able to provide us with the answer for that, right? But in doing so, they are violating the maximum laden weight of vehicles as permitted on the road. And that's under Section 57 of the Traffic Act, right? Now, the braking ability, which is set out in the Road Code on page 24 of the Road Code, says that there should be one vehicle length for every 10 miles per hour of speed, or in bad road conditions, this distance must be increased. And they refer to it as the 2-second rule. So if you pass the marker before you finish counting the 2 seconds, you are going too fast.
Yes.
All right? You need to be able to count 1,000, 2 1,000, and then pass the thing, or you're going too fast. So in bad conditions, then, the 4-second rule, which doubles the 2-second rule, obviously, 2 times 2 is 4, then applies, right? Okay, so on the road, could they have this very handy braking distance set out? And you don't have this in the information I provide to you, but it's on page 24. So if we have a vehicle traveling at 40 miles per hour, the driver needs 40 feet to think. All right? I picked 40 miles per hour.
32 years.
40 miles per hour is the average driving speed in Cayman. You have reduced speed limits, and you also have an increased speed limit up to 50 miles per hour. I just want to let you know that not even in an emergency can you exceed 50 miles per hour according to the law. So a vehicle traveling at 40 miles an hour requires a thinking distance of 40 feet and then a braking distance of 80 feet. In total, this leads to 120 feet or 9 car lengths for braking distance. Okay? Now, let's think about a dump truck that's overladen, traveling at 60 miles an hour. And I can tell you that I have witnessed this because I have driven behind dump trucks and not able to catch up to them and dropped my speed at 60 miles an hour because I knew that I was breaking the law. But I just wanted to see this because this is something that's there and passionate to me, right? What is the probability then that they are able to stop in 9 car lengths?
Or 10 or 12.
Or 10 or 12, right? Now, here is just my absolute position on this, is that if you as a dump truck driver need me to come onto the radio in the hopes that I can get through to you to tell you that you need to slow down, that you need to stop having a reckless disregard for human life, for the well-being of other people on the road, including the road workers, CUC, water company, water authority, Flow. All of them are working on the road, NRA workers. And if it takes for me to come on the radio to tell you this, then I need to question whether or not you should actually be driving a dump truck. Do you deserve to have that license of a lethal weapon that you have absolute disregard for the human life while you are driving it? I hope that what really happens is this, is that today you say, no, in all truth and fact, I am setting someone up to be murdered by my vehicle, and I'm going to refrain from being the one who executes the murder of that individual in the way that I drive my vehicle, because you have an incredible responsibility in driving a dump truck. And the part about it is, as hard as you may try, and as much as you might want that vehicle to stop, you do not have the power to stop it, because speed, weight, and gravity will dictate when it stops.
All right. With that, let's pause, take a short break for our next break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Stay tuned.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Hi,
I am remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal. Subway, eat fresh.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to McGrath's grocery store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we continue discussing the road code and road safety. We have that's the caller online. As we go to the phones, Ms. Katina Anglin, Brother Joe Ebanks. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome, and thanks for calling.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Rambo speaking.
Hey, Rambo. Good afternoon, man. How are you today?
Good, health, friend. I got to be 1 minute. I learned in school, right? In physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say for instance, so the impact of the damage of you got brought in speed 4 to 5. That doubles negative, right? You can try to 5, 7 to 6 to 120. The impact double. That way, my reflection of physics in school. Do I have that change or what? What I learned from.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank
the
you.
level of force, as you talk with speed and distance, and as you're sharing.
And so that's dependent on a head-on collision. For example, the speed of the two cars versus speed of a stationary object like a CUC pole, So whatever your speed is, that's the impact you're going to have. But when there's two cars head-on, you have to sum the total speed for the impact to measure the impact, because both cars are moving towards each other.
There's that level of momentum that's there. And,
yes.
As you look at ships, for instance, they take a while to. The surface is a little slipperier than the roads. Captains have to sort of calculate for that, how long it will take the tanker to get in, even with bow thrusters and what have you. But the weight of the vehicle, as you reference, was interesting. I didn't realize that they were increasing the axle clearance, and now presumably can take more weight.
But they're actually what I understood was that they're manipulating the truck. They're actually modifying it themselves and saying, "Look, I want to increase my revenue, so I'm going to rig this so that I can carry more."
But there's insurance considerations there. There is not just the liability, but whether they're able to be insured. We've seen has your vehicle been modified beyond manufacturers. Then there's an inspection process.
That's right. That's the key to it, I think, is that inspection process then to determine if it's still safe.
Well, we've seen many vehicles on the road allegedly, just the private vehicles that we go, how did I get past?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And not vehicles with...
And it may not be past too.
Yeah, simpler minor stuff. We do have another caller. Let's go to the phones. Welcome, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Hey, afternoon, man. How are you doing?
Okay. Good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
You're talking about these dump trucks speeding on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Police can do a lot better than what they're doing, you know. And they're turning a blind eye on these guys. But if they see me speeding on the road, they gotta stop me and give me a ticket, and I gotta go to court. Or if they stop me and I'm drinking and driving, they gotta give me a ticket, clear me to court, and I lose my license for years. And that's what they got. That's what they got to do with these dump truck drivers. Because when they see the police doing that to one or two of them, then the rest of them should learn that they need to slow down. Don't keep turning a blind eye to them and sweetening them up about, no, I don't want him to lose his license because that's his livelihood. That's his livelihood. If one of them trucks, one of them dump trucks hits a car with 4 or 5 people in it and 3 children up inside of it and kill them children, then you see the police want to do something about it. It'll be too late then. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
I think, and Brother Joy, I'll let you have it after this, but Section 75 and 76 of the Road Code, of the Traffic Act, sets out the conditions for death by dangerous or reckless driving. And I think it would be a good time to set out what reckless driving looks like. So just in case that the drivers are unaware, they wouldn't be unaware after this. But I'll read from Section 76. And it says, a person who drives a vehicle or animal on a road, because it's something about horses, riding your horses as well. But for the purpose of this, it is driving a vehicle dangerously or recklessly, or at a speed or in a manner or in a condition which is dangerous to the public, having regard to all the circumstances of the case, including the nature, condition, and use of the road or place, and the amount of traffic which is actual at the time or might reasonably be expected to be on the road or place, commits an offence and is liable. And it goes on to tell you about what the convictions could be. So while that is found under Section 76, dangerous or reckless driving, all of that just comes right back to Section 67, which says you have this responsibility to drive carefully, to be considerate, right? And you can eliminate all of that long thing found on the Section 76, Yeah. So
there is another component too, though, that we have to be mindful of, and that's the businesses forcing drivers to meet quotas, and you need to get there and you need to hurry back because we have other customers waiting, and and for example the cement trucks, trucking, because you got so much construction going on and guys are waiting, you're holding up jobs, and this plays into the minds of the drivers, but those drivers need to stand fast on that moral approach and being safe in the way they drive, because some of those are really fast too.
And speaking of that, right, while trying to fulfill your employer's demand to meet a quota, it's not going to undo the psychological effects that the driver is going to endure having been participant to a deathly crash. It's him who's going to relive every single moment. So you're going to have to put your foot down and say, I can't do that.
Right.
And maybe they may want to terminate you. But I believe if you go to labor board at that time. And even if you sought the advice of a legal representative, you could find yourself getting a reward for, and much less what the public outcry would be about an employer terminating an employee who refused to drive his vehicle in a deathly manner.
Yes.
You know, I believe the public support would be something that would discourage. The public support for the dismissed employee would be something that would discourage the employer from even attempting to dismiss the employee. Yeah. I think it would be something where they have to look at and renegotiate with their customers and say, well, you know, first and foremost, our employees have to drive like this. So just understand, you need to try to put your orders in advance so I can meet your demand as best as I safely can.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so the one other area, of course, that Sister Katina spoke about was the Christian obligation. And one of the Bible actually makes it very clear. It is so clear. The Bible actually speaks to this. It speaks in Romans 13, 1-7 about the obligation that Christians have as it relates to the law, as it relates to the government and what is expected. Now, when you read the Bible and you read from Acts to Revelation, though all of those books are directed at Christians, this is not for the world. All of the language there, all of the words is God speaking directly to the Holy Spirit-filled saint. The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, speaks to redemption in Jesus Christ and his ministry to the world. And then, of course, the Old Testament speaks about the history of God with Israel and so on, and the creation of the world. But when we look at Romans 13, he's talking to the church. He's talking to the individuals filled with the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And he says this, I'm going to read some of this because it's I think we should this morning. So it says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. So he makes it very clear. God makes it clear with verse 1. Look, every single elected member, every person in the civil service, even those individuals you see in China in positions of authority in government, I put on there. Okay, he's making it clear. I have established these governments. And however he chooses to do that, he chooses to do that. And God is sovereign, so he can. So then he says in verse 2, therefore whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God. And those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. So he's saying to the Christian, look, not only will you have to pay the ticket fine, but I'm also going to judge you on what you've done wrong. Because you have gone contrary to what the Holy Spirit was leading you to do. And so judgment comes, because judgment begins at the house of God. Judgment begins with the saints. And then he goes on, do you want to be, he says, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. So when you're doing wrong, this is when these rulers are going to come against you. The police, the authorities are going to come against you. Now they come against all of us, because he says all. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. If you do and obey the law, they will praise you. If you act morally, they will give you praise rather than come against you with the sword. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid. You see what he calls even the civil servant? God's minister. He's referring to every civil servant, every politician, every police officer, every prison guard, every single person who reports and works for governments around the world. They are God's ministers to you for good. So that you don't drive fast, so that you don't drive those trucks too fast, so that you don't do the things that you're doing wrong. He's a minister for good, because there are two sets of people in this world. There's the saint and there's the sinner. And so therefore there's a set of laws that exist that governs the whole world, but the saint is expected to live about them in grace, having the Holy Spirit within him. And he says, but if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. He considers us breaking the law and what we're doing wrong evil because it's contrary to him, God. This is his rules. This is what he requires from us. And then he says, Therefore, you must be subject not only because of wrath, but also for conscience sake, like you spoke about. Have your conscience, remember morally. You're supposed to drive this truck the speed, because if you kill people, you can have live with this, right? For because of this, you also pay taxes. For they are God's ministers attending continually to this very thing. You know what God is saying here with verse 6? He said, look, the reason why you must pay your taxes is because I need my government to work. And the money has to come from somewhere. Therefore, I'm commanding you to pay taxes to my government so that they can operate and so they can function.
So if you break the law, you're going to get a fine. You're going to pay that fine because they got to pay that police officer for writing a ticket. I'm trying to keep everybody safe. You're acting like a fool here. Pay for your deeds.
Thanks. Yes. So he concludes with verse 7 by saying, render therefore to all their due. Taxes to whom taxes are due. Customs to whom customs. Fair to whom fair. Honor to whom honor. So he's saying, look, fear the judge that's sitting in court. You should have some fear when you're going before him, because
that's respect, right? That's what I mean.
Yes, right? Yes. And you should honor people. You can't call in here and insult Dwayne. I have him there. I put him there. So you have honor for him. You have respect. So he's making it clear. This is how you better treat my government. And he's saying this. He's saying this to the saints. We must lead by example with a full understanding. I expect you to speak about my politicians, speak about my governors and everybody else in this manner.
Right. This is we're almost where we are in the discussion. But this is where this kind of conversation should continue, because maybe sometimes we forget our obligations, and respect begets respect.
Yes.
So the people to whom we should be respectful of, the judge, the police officer, the talk show host, need equally, act and behave in a respectful manner as well. Let's continue. I know that we could talk for the next 2 hours and still have a lot more to converse, but
I would just like to close with this one part of the Lord's law, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
And as a dump truck driver, put yourself in the pedestrian shoes, in the road worker's shoes. Put yourself in the seat of the little Honda Fit driver who sees you looming towards them, and ask yourself if you would like to be treated in that manner, if you would like to have to endure that type of fare, the real fare, not the reverent fare that you just mentioned.
You're
scared for your life. What about the person who is jogging on the road, who's walking their dog, they want to walk with their children for exercise and to stay healthy, right? Why then would you be intimidating them with your vehicle? But and put people in such a situation where they don't even want to come on the road because they're afraid you're going to knock them down and run them over. That's not the type of respect. That's not the type of reverent fare that you want to have as a dump truck driver. You want the little boys to be looking at you and hollering at you because here you come and they can watch you come in and
a dump truck driver someday.
Yes, they want to be a dump truck driver. Not mom and dad saying, come out of the way because he'll knock you down.
Right.
Or before you get knocked down, love your neighbor as yourself and put yourself in other people's shoes and act in accordance with that. May God bless you.
Amen. Hey, thanks very much. And we'll come on again and continue talking. But thank you for the association for paying for this lot and for the civics and political education. We're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, we'll ask you to rejoin us as we talk about something else. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Amen.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The 2021 sitting of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate Examinations are getting bumped, now scheduled for June 28th rather than the previously announced date of June 14th. The decision by the Caribbean Examination Council aligns with recommendations put forward by regional educators during a meeting of CXC's School Examinations Committee on May 21st. Turning to international news now, an armed ex-soldier on the run in southwestern France has been shot by police after a 24 manhunt. The man, named by police as 29-year-old Terry Dupin, had fled to a forest after shooting at officers on Saturday, sparking a massive search. He was wounded during a shootout with a special forces squad and has been taken into custody, officials said. The manhunt began on Saturday after a dispute at Dupin's ex-partner's home led to him shooting at police. The suspect, who had passed domestic violence convictions, fled to nearby woods armed with a knife and a long-range hunting rifle, police said. Denmark's Secret Service helped the U.S. spy on European politicians, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, from 2012 to 2014, Danish media say. The Defense Intelligence Service collaborated with the U.S. National Security Agency to gather information, according to Danish public service broadcaster DR. Intelligence was allegedly collected on other officials from Germany, France, Sweden, and Norway. Similar allegations emerged in 2013. And there are signs the UK is in the early stages of a third wave of coronavirus infections, a scientist advising the government has said. Professor Ravi Gupta from the University of Cambridge said although new cases were relatively low, the Indian variant had fueled exponential growth. He said ending COVID restrictions in England on June 21st should be postponed. The Environment Secretary said the government could not rule out a delay to the planned lockdown easing. On Monday, the UK reported more than 3,000 new COVID infections for a sixth day in a row. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shana Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255. Let your voice be heard. And now, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we have the continuing our partnership with the wonderful agencies in our society, now with the National Drug Council and the excellent company of Prevention Officer, Mr. Disa Hernandez. Thank you for coming along and bringing on two fabulous people. And we're interested in a second, but how are you?
I'm good. Always a pleasure to be here in your presence, Mr. Sterling. Love it.
You know, it's a good thing that I strive for humility because that door not that big, you know. I might make my head through. But thank you. It's that positive energy, and as the shirt said, the positive vibes and the positive energy. It's important. Well, Ms. Dara Flowers Burks, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, well, from youth to youth, you know, Ms. Carmen Thompson, good to see you again, man.
Yes, sir, as always.
As always?
Yeah.
I tell you.
So cute.
Oh, man. It is about making a space and a place so that we can impart knowledge, but also encourage a level of participation and appreciate that. Just like the conversation earlier, we have responsibilities, but we also have to be called to be responsible. So NDC, I think you're doing a great work relative to, promotion, prevention, education, and getting the public called to participate.
Well, thank you for that. And we're really excited. We strive to be more in the community and make sure that the community is aware that we are there for support, whether it be, through our prevention programs for parents, for youth workers, as well as obviously for the students of all ages. So definitely a pleasure to be coming on again. And but this time we're talking a little bit more about our Youth to Youth conference. So Youth to Youth is a huge organization or platform in the United States. It's a group of people who conduct weekly meetings, right? And summer camps that take place, and some of those summer camps, they have over 3,000 students, and those students come in and they will sit in workshops, they will sit and have family groups and different things where they get to meet other students from other parts of the world and other parts of the US, and they're all there for the same reason, and that's to understand how to make better decisions for themselves as a teenager.
Mhm.
What things are out there, what the marketing world looks like, and how it affects them, and how it actually speaks to them, and that way, so they have that opportunity of learning that. Here in the Cayman Islands, we're obviously we're piloting a few of our camps and such like that from the same kind of skeleton. We are a partner from Youth to Youth International, or Youth to Youth Cayman, and so the focus will continue to be that our students, as we know from our CISTUS results, has shown that we have an all-time low number when it comes to usage. But even though we have that low, there's still room for us to improve and have that information out there for the students. So we're quite excited to talk about our Uprising Youth to Youth Conference that's taking place. So we have Dara here, and she's also been a part of Youth to Youth as well.
Sure.
She probably still is Youth to Youth.
In my own head, right?
Actually, Daddy, she's still here.
Keeps him young, right? I mean, we're thrilled to be. I'm actually here on behalf of the Flowers Group. Delissa contacted me about sponsorship, and there was no way I would ever tell her no, because on a personal level, Youth to Youth was such a wonderful part of my sort of growing up in my childhood. My mom, the late E. Flowers, was very, very involved as like a youth leader. And there were so many kids from our generation who, used it as a platform to step forward and teach them life skills that they've used in their careers in various areas throughout the island and abroad. And it's such a wonderful program. I know it's evolved a lot, obviously, since when I was a kid, but there's that element of positive peer pressure and making good decisions and good choices. And I think now it's even more important because you add in all those layers of social media and all the other things that we can't erase or change. Once they're out there, they're out there. And it's just such a wonderful program. And Flowers is so happy to be a part of it. I mean, you talked about just, we all have as corporate citizens, we have an obligation to give back to our communities in whatever way or shape or form we can. And at Flowers, one of our big pushes is obviously youth, and making sure, like, there's this saying that, a country is only as strong as the children who will inherit it. And we need to make sure we create strong, wonderful people generationally in Cayman so that we have a bright future ahead of us. And when we look at guys like Conrad, we're like, okay, we're in the right direction, right? That's very positive for everyone, to have young gentlemen like him coming up and standing up to be counted. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's the thing. As we look at where Cayman is in particular, it's a changing facade. There is no question that geopolitically the landscape has changed. There's no question that within the Cayman context alone, our cultural landscape is changing. There's no question that as a people we're faced with many sort of choices and challenges. So how do we come together? I mean, again, Conrad, it's good to welcome you back.
Yes, sir.
Come in more often. I might have to get you sit there so we can hold.
Well, definitely we can.
We can do that, eh? Right? He's not shy away, man. If it's okay, only because you're part of Youth, I would want to be respectful to Mr. Delissa. Ask of you, tell the listeners about yourself a little bit. Would that be okay?
Sure,
because
no
we need to see the example. I mean,
yes.
He was born and
no.
Go back as far as you want. Tell us about your time you came on, how you see it like. But tell us about you, please.
Okay, well, my name is Conrad Timon Thompson. I was born in Jamaica. Yes, and I am 16 years of age. Well,
and he's 5'11", 100. That's what. Sorry. Go ahead, man. That's good.
Yes, and I am currently in year 11. But things I love to do is go to church, of course. I'm a part of the multimedia group. I love a group. And I love doing sports, volleyball, cricket. That's my favorite. And football at times.
He's a fan of which club again? So we'll let this discussion for last time.
We won't hold that again. Should we talk about Chelsea's win? I'm just kidding.
No.
Wow.
Rough. Too soon.
I had to.
Sorry, man. Hey, I'm sorry. You just picked the wrong. Let's focus.
Yeah, that's fine. And well, when I do get the chance to have some spare time, I either do. I'm in Leah Club as well. It's a very great club to be in. Get lots of opportunities, training, and as well as youth to youth. I recently joined, but to be honest, if I knew about it, if I had some more good friends that would told me about it from a longer time.
So you have a different fans in it to tell you best.
Yes, actually a few friends told me about Youth to Youth, and I said, why not? Let's just come along. And so far it is going good. Met a wonderful group of people, Miss Delissa herself and Miss Shanika Buck at the office. She's at that, yes. So it's a very, very good group. And Cayman, I got a culture shock. It's way different from back home, but I made the necessary adjustments, and I'm still living. So yes, sir. It's a good place, though.
Not bad, huh? Not bad. And I appreciate I think that's one of the things I think Ms. Dara probably emphasized when they did this always. In the Cayman context, there's a lot that we don't know about. Lots goes on, but a lot we don't know about. It's not because there's a promotion, just that we're not paying attention. But sometimes maybe the promotion doesn't reach the populace, that audience. And I think when we look at youth group, whether it's just within the Cayman context, the 20 plus students that may come together as a conference, the notion of what a conference can do relative to empowering, educating, informing, but engaging the students, make them enthusiastic about healthy choices in their lives.
And I think there's been a slight misconception as well of when, parents go on the YMCA website to sign their students up for after-school program, because we're through the we work through the YMCA in our after-school programs. And initially we had over 50 students in each of our sessions. At John Gray we have them on Monday evenings, at Clifton we have them on Tuesday evenings. And of course we'd be more than excited and happy and willing to go into other high schools to be able to bring this program forward. But I think when parents go and sign up, they have this misconception that, it's a program done by NDC, so all they're going to do is talk about drugs, and this program is for kids who do drugs. That's the complete opposite of what we we strive to do. At the end of the day, we want teens to come together. This group, and we've talked about this several times. Dara can speak about this as well. The teens are the people who actually control what happens. And when I say that loosely because they go up there. Conrad is going to be hosting the conference. His peers are going to be behind the scenes, having the conversations with the teens so that they're comfortable with having those conversations. They see someone who looks like them, they can speak their language, someone who, these teens are going to be hosting a plethora of other events. They put the ideas together. When we were at UT Youth in our day in the 90s, not long ago, by the way.
She called you up.
Big up DJ Lynn for the weekend, but
take it to the next level.
But we put on things like boat cruises, the No Booze cruise, and they were all themed in celebrity. Like we dressed up as celebrities.
It was great. I remember it was like the first thing that was for us by us when we were teenagers. Like I like to say Youth was like the soundtrack of my teens because it was this sort of overarching chord throughout our childhood in the most positive way. You met your best friends there. To this day, my best friend is someone I met, through the program. And it also was incredible, and I'm sure Conrad can speak to this too, because like it teaches you life skills, right? The fact that we can sit here and be comfortable on the radio or like TV or wherever, a lot of that was because of Youth, because we were forced to go up and present with your peers. There's nothing scarier when you're a teenager than presenting in front of fellow teenagers, especially about something like, not taking drugs or not doing this or, that's tough. It builds character, and it takes a certain level of grit and sort of determination to be able to do that in front of your peers at those ages. And I think it shapes so many of us. Frankie as well, my older brother, who's a filmmaker, he went through Youth as well, and a lot of the confidence he has even now to be able to do pitches and sit in those big rooms with those movie people, is because he went through that program, and he was we were all forced into it. I'm sure Conrad knows too. It's it's why he's here, and he's not the only reason why he's so articulate, because he's amazing in many ways, but certainly these programs help sort of harness that creativity and that sort of energy, and it's I have nothing but wonderful things to say about Youth from my experience as a child, and even going on now with Delissa carrying the torch. It's really inspiring, And
let's not forget to mention as well, sorry, Sterling, Grace Geely, along with Frankie Flowers. They were both part of Youth growing up. So it really, it assisted us, like Dara said. I second everything she just said. It really assisted us in molding us to, who we are today.
Well, I appreciate you just mentioned those three names alone, right? Because I think sometimes that perception that you speak of is that we hear something and we think, that's only for them. Earlier, our first guest, Ms. Miles Ruby from the Family Resource Center, they have programming for parenting, right? But we think, that's for those parents, whatever label we assign. No, that's for us, right? Like this here, these programs help to give us, I get a sense of self, develop leadership,
of course,
position us, help us to make better decisions, and that comfort that we develop at some point in front of the mic, in front of our, our peers, may translate into making that pitch for the movie.
Maybe, of course,
advocating for for that raise.
Or even in a boardroom trying to, marketing or an idea or every facet of life professionally, at some point you have to present for the most part, not every single career, but most careers. It teaches you that confidence and that skill sets and being able to level with people and communicate with them and, communicate a message,
Right.
And one of the things,
So we do have to break.
Okay.
Remember?
Keep talking.
No, I did
Lynn
ask.
was right.
We're self-hosting now.
All right, let's take that break. When we come back, let's continue. Stay tuned.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vant Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vantmotors.com or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
When you're tight on time and budget, but big on flavor, Subway's Meal of the Day hits the spot. Enjoy daily meals on classic sandwiches like tuna, Black Forest ham, meatball marinara, and more. Starting at $6.25 for 6-inch meals and $8.75 for footlongs. You can get Subway's Meal of the Day. Enjoy a different sandwich on a different day for the same price. Mix it up with cookies or chips or waffle fries for the same price. Subway, eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And in the studio, as we speak about the good programming over at the National Drug Council Prevention, also Mr. Lisa Hernandez from the Flowers Group, Ms. Dara Flowers-Burke, and for you too, Conrad Thompson. We do have a caller just join us for a bit. Let's go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Afternoon. How are you?
To your esteemed panel there. When I heard the word used to use, I just got really useful. I get right back to when I was the first chairperson of
She
the
was.
group. I will agree with Dara. That's his mom of memory. Was also one of her adult ladies that always was there for the youth.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually wanted to advocate, and I've been working with a lot of the boys, because I still call them my boys, and I will say whenever I meet them, remember, especially if they're out somewhere socially, and I think that because youth to youth teaches you that you must abstain while you're youthful, and when you get older, they give you a pledge, you sign that, but you must be a responsible person if you ever start or decide to have a drink. And if I'm out somewhere socially, I am not ashamed to walk up to them and say, you didn't learn this. You signed your pledge. And I want to say that I am hoping that one day Youth to Youth will be back as it was when it started in the 90s.
Yes.
Because it is important for young people to know about the goodness of this organization and also the things that can derive and come from it. I had approximately 6 trips in total off the island, thanks to the Rotary, who was their first sponsors of this program with the help of the government. But I must say that when I took a delegation of 40 or 60 Caymanian kids, 2 or 3 other chaperones, we didn't have to worry. Those kids fitted in just like if they had been students that lived overseas, and everybody loved them, and it was because we were from an island, and so everything was wonderful. And I want to say my hat's off to you all, and those that are in the office. I can't recall Delicia being a Youth to Youth girl, but I know Dara was there, even though she was one of the younger ones. I must say that it's wonderful, wonderful, and that program, when I joined it, I really joined it because my daughter was becoming a teen, and then I was raising my cousins' girls. I had a house of nothing but girls, so we always had guys coming by as well. But I joined it for that reason, to help mold them, to let them realize that there was something great to do. So I want to say congrats to you all, and in whatever you're doing, keep it up, and don't be afraid to call on anyone that is adult or senior that has been in this program, because everyone that has ever did it has a passion, at least I do, and a heart of love to want to see this come back to Cayman as it was in the beginning.
Right.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you so much.
All right. Certainly, it shows that there's consistency and continuity, and the program is very successful.
I love that there's an international aspect as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really important because, you know, sometimes when you live in an island, you're a little bit in a bubble, you know. So obviously it's an off year because of COVID, etc.
Right.
But, you know, giving kids the opportunity to travel to other places. It's funny, I went to university in California, to USC, and the first time I had ever been to California was through Youth when I was a kid, like little, and I was like, oh, I want to live here. You know what I mean? It's just like those sort of things. We went to Rhode Island, Ohio. I mean, we did
community, was it college tours?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
I mean, I would love,
tours.
obviously, post-COVID, etc. You know, that opportunity for our local kids to, you know, be able to travel to other places and see cool things, and you know.
If I may ask, because I looked at one comment from our listeners who shared it, and maybe I take for granted because I know. Could we tell our listeners, for their children or for the students, two things: the age, you know, usually we target all students, let's confirm that, and the age, and then how are the students selected, invited, how they get to be involved youth to youth. I mean,
Okay, so we have Youth Junior, which we're starting from year 6. We recognize there's certain things that those students need to go through before they get to high school, right? So before they get to high school, they learn things like leadership, you know, qualities, how to conduct their own youth to youth at the primary school level, so that when they come over to the high school levels, then they will be able to be the leaders that we're hoping that we've groomed throughout that time, and we can continue to groom. So people who are interested, for, you know, currently we are at Georgetown Primary, we are at East End Primary, we're at Prospect Primary, all after school.
Amazing.
Tuesdays at Prospect, Thursdays at East End, Wednesdays at Georgetown. I'm currently at Northside Primary, or Edna Moyle Primary, on Tuesdays at lunchtime. For the high schools, we are at Clifton Hunter on Tuesday evenings from 3 to 5. And on Mondays, so this evening, we'll be at John Gray High School. So parents, if you're interested in sending your child, you can log on to YMCA, sign them up. We're not turning away anyone. That's something we've always
so
gone
inclusive.
through. Something we've
It's
all
always
gone
been
by.
inclusive.
so it's for the
Very much
parents
so.
or the children themselves to
Yes.
so they participate to apply, or the teachers can recommend how
they can if they choose to, you know, or they can call us at NDC and get more information. I mean, I know I've had several conversations with parents and trying to express, you know, what their child needs and whether it fits. And for me, I mean, I used to be a very shy person.
Me too.
If you can believe that, though,
right? Shy.
She was, yeah.
And then, like, we would be at Miss Eve's house, and I'd be like in the corner, like, "Hey, Dara, hi, Frankie." Okay, I don't
My
know.
mom was like the
You know?
de facto host for everything youth to youth. So
Yeah, you
poor
know.
thing.
So slowly, I came out of my bubble, and eventually, obviously, I worked at Cayman 27, which assisted me, and we do with our students as well. We go through. Conrad had to actually apply for the position that he is in currently for this conference, because they have to go through those pieces as well. We want to make sure that we touch every single point of their life and things that we know that they're going to be experiencing, you know, once they graduate. And most of these students will be coming back and volunteering next year after they, you know, move on to whether it's UCCI or SciFec. So parents, if you feel like your student or your child, needs to be part of this program, like we said, it's inclusive. So we're not going to be, you know,
it's incredible. Like obviously Flowers Group is a sponsor, so there's that piece. But on a personal level, I can't even speak highly enough about Youth Youth and the positive impact it's not only had on my life, but so many other kids who honestly were like a little bit lost and couldn't figure it out. Like especially those younger ages, like 12, 13, it really made a huge impact on our lives.
They're still trying to figure out who
still,
they are.
It happens. Do we other than the YMCA website, can they come to the NDC website to?
They can log on to ndc.ky, and the information is there as well about both Youth to Youth Junior and Youth to Youth at the high school. At the end of the day, you can also call 949-9000. You can call me or Miss Shanika, who's the other facilitator at the John Gray High School. And she and I would be able to give you as much information as possible. Also before we go, because I think we're going to be wrapping up with time.
She's ready. She's self-hosting, dude. Okay, we come equipped.
You guys should. Next time you think about it too, you should be hosting. Hey, that's an invitation.
That's a really
invitation.
We're taking over.
Let's do
studio
that.
takeover. D&D.
I like that. Let's talk about it. My people call your people.
Yes, your people can call
DJ
our
Lynn
people.
will facilitate.
He's gonna run for his life.
I like this idea.
We're down.
Let's talk about it after.
Okay. Just a quick thank you, and I'll give it to Conrad, to Digicel, who is supporting us as well as Himalaya. They have also supported us for this conference. Of course, you can't do it without the people.
Amazing.
Flowers Group, obviously.
Happy.
And so if anyone else is interested in supporting this group and being
so
part
incredible.
of it, facilitating this conference, we have
And there's other people who are, the Alex Panton Foundation is involved, Big Brother, Big Sister, there's over 200 kids. There's a lot of integration with other community outreach programs along with Youth to Youth. So it's going to be incredible. The conference is going to be, I'm so excited.
Exactly.
Well, you can come back and report on us and tell us all.
Always.
Always.
All right. Conrad.
Yeah, and just to reassure what Mr. Lisa said earlier, to all the parents, it's not really a club that is always necessary talking about drug and alcohol and all of that, e-vaping and whatsoever. We also have small sessions where we just communicate with each other, get to know each other, and we also play games and all kind of stuff. As she said earlier, well, I sent in a resume, a cover letter and all of that. The other students as well sent in, so it gives an experience of every single thing that is out in the real world. So yeah, and as she was saying, I will definitely always be a part of NDCs. Now it has a part in my heart.
I love him. He's so
yeah.
cute. It's adorable.
And the teens at school as well.
Mm-hmm.
I lead in school and out of school, but overall, it's a good club. It's a good club, yes. I would definitely influence all parents, advise all parents to get their kids involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. And this is where I think we build that stronger society. Whether we've been here a year, one generation, or we go on 10, or we need to appreciate that this is where we are. And if we don't make it better, it won't be.
Exactly.
It's really that simple. The money in the gated communities aside, it won't make a quality of life improve. And
a country is only as strong as the children who will inherit it.
I was just going to say that's what Mr. Harris said it outside perfectly.
It's true, though.
We need to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect stuff, man. Closing thoughts?
One thing, all the schools that are listening out there, please call us 949. No, honestly though, if you want this conference at your school, if you want this conference to be maybe part of your youth group at church as well, we are more than interested in conducting this conference there. Please give us a call, 949-9000. You can email me at just the letter D, Hernandez at ndc.ky. And we can go from there and make some decisions, whether it be next school year or, at the beginning of the next year. Let's collaborate. Let's make a difference in these children's lives. Let's create positive.
Absolutely. Whoop, whoop. Yes. Always.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having us. We really enjoyed it.
And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be able to help facilitate these discussions, but to invite people how significant and important it is for us to come together, especially now that we've seen a significant sort of shift in our human history, and we're in a different place. It's on us. What is it, Mr. Harris said?
The country is only as strong as the children who will inherit it.
That should be the mantra for the next political campaign. With that, join Miss Anita tomorrow morning for the buzz. Come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. This is a Monday. The start of the week, the end of a month. Tomorrow is the beginning of hurricane season, according to the calendar. Mother Nature thinks otherwise, but I'm grateful to the partnership with the Hazard Management. Mr. Simon Boxall has put together a fantastic panel, as we usually do every June 1st, and this is going to be another resounding, illuminating discussion that we're going to host tomorrow. So until then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. And Royal Fidelity Bank and Trust, money at work.